Yeah, so, Tyler's making great progress. He was able to participate today. Alaric, we didn't practice yesterday. It was just a projection. So, got a shot to the chest in the game. Nothing like what Higbee's was, and he was good today.
What exactly happened?
He just got the, little chest contusion.
Rain and snow in the forecast for Sunday. Is there any way you guys can prepare for it out here?
You know the answer to that question.
I gotta say, I asked.
Yeah, there you go. I would say this, the weather has changed in the last couple of days. We'll see what it is, but we are aware of that. I think the biggest thing is just being mindful of if the surface is affected, that our cleats aren't an issue. That's a big part of it. Brendan Berger does a great job with that, Lindsey. And, I think, Matthew's had experience handling that ball. I know this, if it does snow, if it does rain, we got to be mindful of what we need to do to adjust and adapt, but there's no way it can be as cold as it was at the Jets game.
First, obviously talked a lot about the first time you faced Saquon Barkley. Now seeing him again, how much do you think just that earlier experience would have helped those guys just knowing what they're saying?
Here's what I would say. I think humbling experiences with the right people can be great learning ops, great growth opportunities. I think there's a ton of respect that our guys have where you think you know what it's like, and then when he gets to the second and third levels and the way that their offensive line is able to come off and get removal on some of their double teams, you have a real appreciation for the type of strain and finish that it's going to take to play at the level that we're capable of and what's going to be necessary if we expect to be able to advance. So I think it's definitely helpful. I think both teams, and I think they've continued to improve since then. I think there's been a lot of learning, a lot of growth from us since then, but ultimately everything that occurred in that game, it's about how we play in this 3-hour window, but I absolutely think there's appreciation and understanding of what's going to be required for us to try to slow down what's a great offense.
Sean, what went into the decision not to practice yesterday?
We had a similar situation, Adam, in the 21 season when we played Arizona on Monday night, and then we were going to Tampa on a short week. Felt like that schedule worked out. I think the most important thing is let's allow our players to be able to get recovered, turned over. They came in, they lifted, they got themselves refreshed and recharged. I think our guys have been able to handle short weeks, if you will. And so we felt like it would be better to say, all right, let's do a thorough, diligent job of putting together first, second, and third down today, get a little bit of good stress on their bodies, and then we'll try to get back to what is a normal rhythm and routine in terms of on our Fridays, on our Saturdays. But really just some previous experience with that, and it enabled really, most importantly, the players, but also the coaches to not feel like you're just throwing a plan together, but you're diligent about that, and our guys handled it really well today.
Against the Eagles in Week 12, Kyron had a short fumble in 4 games. Hasn't had one since he played in some bad weather games. What have you seen from him as he made that a priority not being lost?
He's always made it a priority, but I think the sense of urgency increased. I think the coachability, I think he's one of those guys, Sarah, that he's all about the right stuff. And so when you have some challenging, moments or situations that occur, those are where the real growth ops exist. Really similar to what I was talking to Lindsey about in terms of our defense seeing their offense. Thought he's done a really good job. Obviously, there were some good ones the other day that we got away with against Minnesota, but have total trust and confidence, and I think he understands. And I think they do as good a job as any team that we've played this year in terms of it attacking at the football. And you got to be mindful of in a lot of those traffic situations where you're leaving it susceptible and what's going to be necessary to take care of it.
Sean, two questions.
I'll come to you next.
What are you thinking going into another matchup against Vic Fangio?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you guys get Cooper Kupp more involved in terms of being targeted?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is this is a Rams offense versus the Eagles defense. Coach Fangio is, there's a ton of respect that I have for him, the consistency at which he's done it, the way that, his guys play. There's an identity, there's a philosophy, but I think there's a flexibility like I talked to you guys about earlier in the year in terms of, all right, there's some foundational principles, but what fits this group? They're obviously at the top of the charts in every single metric that really matters. They're as good as it gets defensively, and I think that's a tremendous credit to his leadership, his ability to be able to have a great staff around him, and then ultimately get it communicated to their great players, and they bring it to life. And so we know what a great challenge it's going to be and how little margin for error you have if you expect to consistently move the ball and ultimately finish drives against as good a defense as there is in this league, arguably the best. And then as it relates to Cooper, we really try to get him involved. He's always a focal point. Sometimes the coverages don't end up allow that to occur. I thought the play that he made down the right sideline was a tremendous play for us. There were some other opportunities, but then really once we kicked the field goal and it got to 27-3 the other night, there was a very different approach that we took. And like any great leader, I think he was just glad to be a part of, winning for our team, but he'll always be a guy that we want to try to be able to get involved. But the amount of passes that we threw just in general and the types of passes, and then, we were in some different personnel groupings that limited the total snap count for our receivers in general. So that did limit some of the opportunities as it relates to the Vikings game.
On Monday night, a lot of guys were wearing those fire department. We talked about it afterwards.
Yeah.
Does that emotion play into the recovery process this week?
That's probably a better question for those guys. I think, here's what I would say. I think like we talked about after the game, and really it continues to go on. I think the appreciation, the perspective of, where sports fit in terms of the platform that our guys have to be able to do right, to be able to offer a little bit of a temporary relief for the amount of people that are feeling this thing, to really use that as an opportunity to make sure you recognize, all right, these first responders in LA, the fire department, what a great job they've done of doing some real life stuff that's a lot bigger than sports. And so I'm just really proud of our group and the way they've handled it. I think they understand the perspective and the platform, and the way that they've approached all of it has been something that I'm really proud to be a small part of.
When you look back at that first meeting with the Eagles, obviously Saquon sticks out. Is there something else you pop in the tape that really stood out to you that we have to do this better?
Certainly there is. I'm not going to say that on here, but here's what I would say. I think when you look at it, I think there's been a lot of growth from our group since then. I think that was a very humbling night. I think first and foremost, you look at yourself as a coaching staff and you say, what can we do to make sure that our players are in some better spots? And then what kind of sense of urgency is going to be required on a day in, day out basis to be able to continuously improve? There's a reason why they are where they are. They're an excellent football team. There's no weaknesses that they have. They're well coached. They have great personnel. They play a certain style of football that is really conducive to being able to win as a team, and that's why they've won so many games. And so we have to do a great job of trying to be able to limit some of the opportunities, be able to get off the grass on third down. The possessions end up being limited, but obviously the run game is a big factor. Some different things to try to limit some of those vertical seams, but they've got a bunch of different ways they can make you pay, and Saquon is certainly an incredible player that we have tremendous respect for. He went absolutely off that night like he's done all season. But I think, like what I was talking about with Lindsey earlier, I think there's a great sense of urgency and understanding of what's going to be required really in all three phases to be able to play against an opponent of this caliber.
When you look back to
Last one, guys.
right, the elation,
Yeah.
winning that game, then quickly you come back and realize you're coming back to a natural disaster that was taking place. Like, take me through that thought process, how you quickly shifted to, okay, we're going back to this.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, because it's still going on. I mean, shoot, my power at my house went out again today. And so, I think what you understand is that, this does offer a temporary relief. I was incredibly impressed with our guys' ability to be able to say, all right, what can we do, making sure that first things first, our family, friends, everybody's taken care of. How can we use this platform to be of service to the people that are doing the real work as they're really trying to get all of it under containment? But then also, can we be totally and completely present, and can we continue to represent the right way? That was the thing I was as proud of as anything. Is I think our guys represented LA the right way, use sports as a positive example of what that platform can provide, and that's exactly what is going to be required this week. And I think they understand too that these are precious opportunities that they've earned. Not saying that it's more important than anything that's going on right now. We know where the priorities lie. But I think you can take care of both at the same time, and our guys have done an incredible job of being able to manage that, illustrated by last week. And then, we can sit here and say, challenges of a short week, different things like that. We're not going to allow it to be an excuse. We got to be at our best on Sunday at 3 p.m. In Philadelphia, and we love the opportunity and the challenge, and here we go. Okay? Thanks, guys.